Prince Victus welcomed Count Mateos into the throne room of Port Kervion, and the appearance of his human ally brought a rare smile to the face of the elvish prince. "Thank you for coming, Alexander." "I could do nothing else, Saul. My heart broke for you when I read of your troubles. So I brought all the might I dared take away from Mittenheim, and I swear them to the defense of your realm." "And you have arrived at a perfect time. Due to some disagreements amongst those who claim to support me, the forces of Duke Laguerre of Equitaine have crossed the borders formed by my withdrawal, and an answer must be given." "Aye, a perfect time indeed. I've heard much of the skill of Laguerre, and I've often wished to face him in battle, to see who is the better man." "You would match your infantry against the Rose of Equitaine's gallantry?" Thal asked, somewhat astonished. "Ha!" the Count responded. "As I hear it, the armor of his knights is rusting from the nearness of their filthy peasants that he relies on so." Prince Victus smirked. "Perhaps so, my friend, but those filthy peasants were able to rout the forces of Lady Ias, with only a handful of knights to aid them." "Truly?" Alexander asked. When Thal nodded the affirmative, he laughed. "Then it shall be a worthy battle indeed. Worry not, my long-suffering friend. I go to war, and when I return, we shall share a drink and talk of the first steps taken to secure your realm." All right, we have another narrative battle report for you guys tonight, with my Empire of Sonnstahl taking on Skip's Kingdom of Equitaine in another 4,000 point narrative battle. We forgot to do up a scenario for this, so we're just playing it straight. Let's go ahead and just get into the deployment. All right, starting over near the house, we have a unit of 3 Pegasus Knights, and he paid to have the Vanguard on them, I believe. Yeah, Vanguard on them. Next to that, on the other side of the fence, there is a unit of 10 Bowmen. Then he has a conga line of 5 Yeoman Outriders, and a unit of, what is that, 3, 6, looks like 8 Knights Aspirant with full command. Then he has a big unit of peasants. I believe there are 53 peasants in that unit, and a Sacred Reliquary in the center. In that unit, he has a Paladin Battle Standard Bearer with the Virtue of Humility, and his Damsel, who is a level 4 to the Path of Shamanism with the Obsidian Nullstone and a Dispel Scroll on her. Behind that is his Trebuchet. Next to that on the Pegasus is his Duke General, who has the Favor of the Grail. He has the Dragon Lance, the Armor of Percival, the Ring of Fire, and the Virtue of Might. So, really scary if he can get into combat with anything that matters. I'm hoping that I can avoid that happening. Next, he has another unit of 8 Knights Aspirant with full command. And finally, another unit of 5 Yeoman Outriders that he's got conga lined next to them. Okay, on my side, I'm going to start off with a unit of 10 State Militia skirmished with bows. Hanging out with them is my Wizard, who is a Wizard Master 4 spells to Alchemy. And he has the Book of Arcane Power. So I'm just going for just raw spellcasting ability on him. Next to that is a unit of 5 Riders with Brace of Pistols. Behind that is my Mortar. Then we have a unit of 20 Imperial Guard with full command and great weapons. Then I've got my General, Count Alexander Mateos, on his Great Griffin. He is a great tactician with the Lucky Shield and a Talisman of Greater Shielding. He also has a lance on him. Up front there is my unit of 30 Halberdiers with full command. And the black winged banner marks my Marshal, who is my battle standard bearer. He has a halberd, the black helm, and the rending banner. Behind that is my arcane altar. And I took the one that gives me distracting. I'm kind of going for a very defensive setup here in the hopes that I can force his night charges to be rubber lance and not hurt me. So that's the plan. Next to that, I finally have my 43 spearmen done up. Heavy infantry with spears. They have the banner of unity on them. Figure that's a good protection for such long flanks. And hanging out with them is my prelate. And he has paired weapons and the charm of cursed icon. Or iron. I don't know why I keep calling that the charm of cursed icon. And then at the far end to hold this flank down, I have my steam tank. So he paid for the Vanguard, so here it comes. He recognizes the weak flank when he sees it, and is going to put some pressure on there. And he actually, because he dumped his army, I didn't get the bonus to roll, so we were just rolling flat. And he ended up winning first turn, so here he goes. He's playing pretty cautious, moves everything up slowly, kind of wants to see what I'm going to do. You can see on the right there behind the forest, he is leading those yeomen up a little further to kind of get, I guess, to start chaffing up or to maybe give me something to send the steam tank at. I'm not sure. And then he went and hid his Duke behind the building here, which I'm really okay with, because that Duke can mess up just about anything significant in my army. And if he wants to spend the whole game hiding him, more power to him. I'll deal with the rest of the army and hopefully avoid him. So he goes to... I think this might be magic. I think he threw the 5d6 strength 1 spell at my spearman and ended up doing a single wound, so no big deal there. And then he starts opening up shots. Those bowmen are absolutely killers. Kills 3 out of my 4 riders, but I do manage to stick on my panic check. So then we go to my turn 1, and I don't see a point of playing very defensively. The only reason my steam tank's back as far as it is I rolled like garbage for its random movement, and it didn't even get to the forest. Everything else I pushed up just right in his face. Like I said, I've got this kind of built so that I'm almost wanting him to charge me with the knights, because I think I can make them rubber lance it, and I've got enough bodies to kind of soak it up and eat it, particularly if I can trick him into going into the spearmen. Over here, my bowman with the wizard in it decided to hightail the hell out of the way of those Pegasus Knights. My general decides to go and protect the mortar, and in all honesty, this is a bluff. We play closed lists, so I can kind of pull stuff like this. Alexander Mitios looks cool on his Griffin, and he adds good synergy with the orders and everything, and he can help push a combat that's close over to the other side, but he's not really all that good by himself, and I certainly don't think that he could handle 3 Pegasus Knights charging into him. But my opponent doesn't know that. And so my plan here was to just put him up there like I didn't have a care in the world, and hopefully that would give him pause and keep my mortar alive, because I need to shell the hell out of those peasants, because that's a big old brick of them, and I need them reduced in size before I can deal with them. I also decide to run the riders up to threaten the bowmen. My ultimate thought, I wish I could have gotten them farther, but I just didn't have the movement. I wanted to try and sneak them around and go after the trebuchet, because they're pretty useless for anything else now that there's only 2 of them. Then we go into magic, and he pretty much stopped me. I didn't get anything good off. We go into shooting, and I do drop a mortar bomb on the peasants and kill, I guess that's 7 or 8 of them. Not great, but it's a start. And over here, I shoot the cannon at that night brick, and I think I kill 1 of them on the other side of the forest. So again, Not fantastic, but I'll take what little I can get. And then we go to KOE turn 2. Um, my opponent does charge with his Night Brick, which I thought was awesome. He also charged with the Peasants, which I thought was less awesome, but the dice luck worked out for me, and he failed his Peasant charge, succeeded the Night charge, and this is exactly what I want. He's not, even with the number of attacks he's got, I've got Fear on the BSB there because of the helm, and he's just not going to have enough wounds to kill everything in the unit, particularly with the distracting on it. So I'm hoping to basically survive and take them out from just more attacks is ultimately my plan. Don't know if it's going to work, but it's worth a try, certainly. And over here, my opponent, obviously, I realize at this point as he starts to move the knights around, he doesn't have a Strider banner on him. So he's going to try and avoid that forest. But what he's done here is he's opened up a perfect flank charge for my steam tank. And all I've got to roll on 3 dice is a 12 to get there. So I'm really kind of happy with that. But I don't think my opponent sees it. Particularly because here comes his Duke out of the shadows, and I want my steam tank engaged with something and hopefully doing some damage before the Duke shows up and kills it. You can also see he runs his yeoman up here to chaff the spearman. The big problem that he's got here is I can't close the door completely to him because of the length of my unit if I do charge. And when I come in there, his peasants are wide enough where he's not redirecting me out of the way. He's still going to send me into the peasants, which I'm okay with because I've got ranks for days on those spearmen, and I'll sit there and just piddle around because all of his peasants have spears on them too. So I'm willing to sit there and hold up that unit with my spears for a long time. And who knows, maybe if I get enough buffs on them, I can actually do some significant damage to them while my halberds are dealing with the other knights. He turns here to have his shooting face the 2 riders, which I'll be honest, I'm kind of happy with because I don't want them shooting at my actual infantry unit at this point. And the riders are nothing but a sweet target to absorb shots. And then he brings the other yeoman up, doing a much better job at redirecting. Not like I'm really going to overrun after I kill him, but he's got it so that I can't swing and come into the side of his knights. So he's got the right plan. And he does take the bluff. And rather than come and charge down my general and probably kill him, the Peg Knights sweep around some more so that they can see the mortar and will be able to charge it past my general if I let him at this point. Which I'm thinking of letting happen because I just want a couple of shots with the mortar before it's going to go away, and my general needs to go be doing more important things at this point. So we go into magic. The only magic he gets off is the +1 toughness buff on his night bus to try and help him. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Then we go into shooting, and he wastes the riders, but I'm okay with that. And then the trebuchet drops down on the spearman, and I get pretty lucky here. He only takes out 6. Really, the charm of Cursed Iron really is the thing that saved my butt here, is I got a lot of ward saves on it to keep the unit mostly whole. And here, oh my god, did the rubber lance work. He swings in, only kills 3 halberdiers with all of the attacks that he's got. He ends up, I think during my turn, I may have gotten off the spell from alchemy that doesn't let him get his strength to his lances. That might be why he didn't do very much. But he just did very, very poorly. I attacked back and did pretty solid, leaving him with 4 guys. I beat him. He fails his panic or his break check and runs off. I believe I pursued, but I rolled garbage. I rolled like 2 inches, so he ended up getting away, and that's where things get left off. So we go into EOS turn 2. I went ahead and charged the yeoman on both sides with my other 2 units, and I reformed a little bit. I think I reformed or pivoted a little bit with the halberdiers, but I'm not really willing to let them go run into those peasants by themselves yet. I want to see how the spearmen do here and see if they can overrun into them. And I roll exactly the 12 I need to send the steam tank slamming into the side of these knights. And that's pretty much all. It may take me all game to kill these guys, but on strength 3, with them not being able to go anywhere, I'm armor 1 up. They're never going to get free to be able to do anything. And it's going to take him, with the way they're going, probably 2 turns for him to get the Duke around to me if he wants to bring him in. And I think the Duke could handle me, but it's going to take him a while. And by the time he does, these knights will be effectively worthless. I run my caster and his guys over here a little bit more and send my general after those peasants. Again, kind of wanting to give them a nice target so that they don't have anything better to shoot at. But ultimately, I want to get to the trebuchet before it causes too much trouble. Or too much more trouble, I guess would be a better term. And then, magic. I get a great magic phase, and I start by trying to blow up the knights. I get molten copper off on them. I only do one wound, but that's okay, because it lets me make the peasants flammable. Which then helps because I use my bound spells to succeed in getting the 5+ ward on the spearmen, the flaming attacks on the spearmen, and the +2 weapon skill and initiative on the spearmen. So obviously I'm going to eat these yeomen, and when they come if I can roll enough to come hurling into those peasants, or even enough to prevent the peasants from wheeling and getting into my halberdiers, so they've got to deal with the spearmen. Those spearmen are going to be scary because they've got the hatred from the prelate. They'll have rerolls to wounds thanks to the flaming attacks versus flammable. 5+ ward in combat is awesome, and the additional weapon skill and initiative really is just fan-freaking-tastic. So I managed to get another mortar shot off. Again, not doing great. I think I killed 5 guys. It's not working out very well for me. So we go into combat. I choose to grind rather than impact hit, and that was the right decision because I grind very well. I end up winning this combat, but he's stubborn, sticks, and succeeds the reroll or the reform to turn to face me. And over here, yeomen get eaten, and I succeed the overrun, so I send my spearmen straight into the middle of the halberdier unit, and with all the buffs on these guys, this is going to be messy. He's got a lot of attacks, but he went with spears instead of extra hand weapons this time, which is super good for me, I think. And over here, obviously, my great weapon guys slaughter the other yeoman. And I actually decide to pivot 180, because my thought is he's going to hit my mortar next turn with those Pegasus Knights. And if he doesn't overrun enough, I'll be able to get a flank charge on him with the great swords, and I'll put money that those great swords will be able to take out the Peg Knights just from the amount of attacks I'll get to throw in. And that's pretty much what he does. Pegasus Knights come flying into the mortar. He fails to rally with the Knights Aspirant, and they run off the table. And he brings his lord around from the side here. I don't think he knows what a good target for this lord is going to be. it's really seemingly designed, just from what I was looking at, to kill very hard to kill things. And other than the steam tank, everything in my army is hard to kill just because there's a shitload of bodies to it, and it's not really playing to that character's strength. So he's not really sure where to go with it, and I'm okay with that. He ends up in magic phase. I think he gets some spell off. I don't recall what it is. I think he buffs the shooters over here for some reason, but it doesn't really much matter. So we go into combat because his trebuchet didn't do anything this turn. He kills the mortar and then overruns 2. So I am absolutely in perfect charge range to slam into the flank of these knights, and I am super happy about that. Over here I do some more grinds. He's a little bit better off with his armor saves and ward saves this time, and I only kill 1 guy, so he's still steadfast and sticks. And holy crap, my spearmen ate the peasants. Just absolutely ate them. With all the buffs I had, I was rolling like a beast. He hit back, and between... You wouldn't think a 6-up armor and a 5-up ward save would be very much, but I was rolling awesome, and he barely got any kills on me. I beat him by a mile, failed his break check, and got run down by the spearmen, which, being that it's my turn next, will put me into a perfect charge into the trebuchet with them and be able to take them out. So EOS turn 3, obviously I nail this charge here into the side of the pegs. I charge my general into the bowmen, who stand and shoot and inflict 1 wound on him. I charge my spearmen into the trebuchet. And then this is where I brought everything back. I end up getting Glory of Gold off on the Great Weapon guys, and that makes the Pegasi flammable. So yeah, it's gonna go. I'm gonna go mess them up. But I got a miscast, although I put it misfire here. Either way, I blew up half of my little archer bunker, but they don't panic and run off, due entirely to the fact that I have my BSB right next to them. We do some grinding here. I end up killing 1, but because he has a banner, we end up breaking even, so nobody has to make a break check. And then, of course, I kill the trebuchet and reform to look at the middle of the battle. And my general whiffs, and I think this is the point where my opponent realized that the whole thing I had thrown on him earlier was a bluff of epic proportions. Because, yeah, my general on his big scary beast killed a grand total of 2 peasant archers. Wow. I do like that they made the Griffin a monstrous beast so that you can get all the defenses of the character on it. I gotta say, I don't like losing Thunder Stomp for normal Stomp, because I need it for that extra punch. And so I beat him by 2 and a charge. And I got fear on him, but he's steadfast and ends up sticking and not going anywhere. But then the great swords, with their awesome buffs and just being awesome, kill the Pegasus Knights, and I only lose 1 great sword in return, which pretty much seals the deal for Kingdom of Equitaine here. Laguerre watched from across the field as the last of his peasants fell. He was outgunned and outmanned, as he was not expecting Mateos' forces to be this near to the Crimson Peaks. It was only by the lady's blessing that he was still alive. He circled above the field, watching the Empire's forces retreat, leaving behind the sacred reliquary and the wounded to be treated. This was an honorable move from his adversary, and one that would not be forgotten. He made his way back to the forward camp and dispatched a few damsels and knights to retrieve those left behind. He walked into his tent and heard a voice he had not heard in 10 years. Turning, he saw a huge figure leaning against a giant axe, an axe Laguerre's own father had crafted. "Your father said you'd find yourself in trouble. I now owe him as I bet you'd be smarter. I was wrong, and he's dead. So I must replay you now, Blondie. What can an old friend of the family do for you?" Laguerre looked up and smiled at the ogre. He whispered a quick prayer to the lady and sent for a barrel of ale he had been saving. The tides may now at last be changing. So, Empire of Sonnstahl victory here. My opponent surrendered in bottom of 3. And, I mean, if you see what's on the board, no real surprise that he did. I'm going to grind to death his last 2 knights this turn. And I'll probably fight that fight with my general and his bowman till the end of time. So all he's got left is the 1 Pegasus Lord. And I've got my entire army still on the board, minus the mortar. The mortar was the only thing that he took. And the riders. So yeah, two units down versus his entire army. Yeah, I can see the surrender there. In terms of my list, I love that I finally got all these spearmen painted. It's taken me forever to get them because I didn't want the new spearmen, which are the same ones the halberdiers are. So I've been hunting old spearmen so that they look all the same. But I'm so glad I did it. I love that bus. And between alchemy and the bound spells from the prelate in there, holy crap, that can kick out a lot of pain. I'll be surprised. I mean, other than the halberdiers did okay, and they rubber lanced the knights and took them out, but to have beat that big old peasant brick in its own game, I got to give my men of the hour to the spearmen, and I'm super happy about that. I actually think I like the bonus on the arcane wagon for distracting better than I like the one for lightning reflexes, which is super good. Alchemy, very good, as long as I'm not dealing with the elves and their 2-up ward save against fire knights. But even the buffs and the on it and the debuffs are really, really good, so I might have to play with that a little bit more. Steam tank solid as always. And I'm thinking that maybe the Great Griffin is kind of a waste of points for the general. I just like it. I love the model, and it's very characterful for me. I just really enjoy it, and I don't want to not play with it. So I may just keep it just for that reason, kind of a nod to less effectiveness for the sake of story. So I can swallow that. I think this list for the most part was pretty tight. I don't think there was anything that I would really drastically change with it in a 4,000 point list. Maybe a little bit of magic item change here and there, but I thought I had all the tools I needed and I played effectively. And it really kind of dismantled my opponent more than I think he was expecting. He really wasn't expecting that distracting on the units, so he was hitting on 5s against most things, and it was just a mess. But my opponent played pretty well. He made a couple of key mistakes, I think. The first one being he gave me the side of that unit with the steam tank, and I was going to go for it. But again, I mean, let's be honest. I probably, as long as he did charge me, I could probably have hit that unit of knights in the front with the steam tank, and it wouldn't much have mattered. Also, going with my bluff on not attacking my general. I think it would have been a different game if those peg knights had just charged face first into my general. They probably would have killed him, overrun into the mortar, killed that before I could have gotten any shots off. and then all up in my backfield, probably going after my wizard next. And without those magic buffs, this game would not have gone the way it did. But all in all, it was a good game. I certainly enjoyed it. I hope you guys did. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. I also want to, again, thank those who are supporting me on Patreon. My link to my Patreon will be down in the comments if anyone else would like to donate. We are making our way to Southern Assault here at the end of July, so any money that I get in will certainly help us pay for the expenses for that. Should be a lot of fun. I haven't quite decided what army I'm taking yet, but I'm really excited. All three of us are going this time, so this will be Skip's first major tournament, his first GT, and the Fluff Masters are going to go and represent. So I want to specifically thank Sylvanas Ironwood and Petter Voss. I think that's as close as I'll ever physically be able to say it. For being my patrons, you guys have really inspired me to keep doing this, and by showing me how much it's appreciated. And I certainly appreciate you guys doing that as well. But again, anybody who would like to, your donations would certainly be welcome. Beyond that, we did get one more game in tonight, so there's going to be another battle report between me and Michael that should be coming up this week as well. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.